when we set healthy boundaries, it allows us personally to expand, because we're operating within the confines of what we can deal with and tolerate and manage, and what we can't. So those kinds of boundaries are going to be the kind that help you to expand. They'll allow you to be your best self, to feel like you can be more open, more generous, just the best version of you, as opposed to avoiding vulnerability, which setting those kinds of boundaries can have a tendency to just cause you to feel restricted, like your world is getting smaller. You're much more self-protective, which boundaries by nature are self-protective, but not in a restrictive way.
Right. Yeah, it's like the difference. It's just like the difference between like hiding versus expanding. I love that difference there. So if you feel like after you set a boundary, you actually are connecting more to people, or even to yourself, or you feel like there's like growth and movement and openness, then you're probably not avoiding anything. But if your life just feels smaller and more restricted, then but I mean, I think that question of, I mean, how will I know when boundaries are serving me? I think a lot of the times we have a natural tendency to feel like when we set a boundary, we're being selfish. And it can, other people may tell you you're being selfish.
Especially, people on the receiving end can often kind of twist it like that's the intent, is just to cut people out. But that's not necessarily the case. Healthy boundaries allow us to maintain good relationships for the most part.
So if you're feeling vulnerable when you're setting boundaries, then you're probably setting boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. You can't set boundaries, even healthy boundaries, without some form of vulnerability, because essentially what you're saying is, this thing that happens that goes too far for me. You're saying something very personal about yourself.
Right. It reveals,
it tells other people who you are, and that's super vulnerable. But again, doing that can allow you to be the best version of yourself.
So I'll say one more thing about it.
Great.
And if you want to say more, you can.
Okay.
I think that if you are setting boundaries as a way to avoid a vulnerability, or if boundaries are serving you and you're avoiding vulnerability, then a lot of the times your boundary is going to, in some ways, cut you off from you, like being clear about what the soft spot, or like what's hard for you, or what's going on for you. And so the boundary should feel vulnerable. You'll know in a lot of ways that it's a really good boundary when you might even be second guessing or feeling a little bit insecure or not sure, like, because you're probably getting to something that really matters to you. And so it still takes courage, and you still have to go forward with it. Nobody's going to protect you from that. But if you're just being hard on everybody all the time, and you don't care, and you're probably avoiding vulnerability.
That's more like building a wall. Those kinds of boundaries are just cutting people off, as opposed to just setting a boundary that can still maintain some kind of connection that you can live with.
Thanks for stopping by and watching this little clip of my podcast interview. If you want to catch the full episode with this guest, you can click on the link below. It'll take you to my podcast, and you can listen to the whole thing. Once again, I appreciate your support. I've got lots of other episodes you can check out as well, and I'd love to hear what you think about it.